Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fort Worth Roots. If this is your first time joining us, thank you for being here. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the major platforms, and our website, fortworthroots.com. You can stream it straight off of there. Or you can find us at YouTube. Just look for Fort Worth Roots. We're on there as well. This is a variety interview podcast. We interview people from all walks of life. Our guest today is a return guest from episode 15. Last time I saw this dude, we were at his place on the other side of DFW. We did a recording for Fort Worth Roots, and he actually had me on as a guest for his podcast, Sum of All Fears. If y'all haven't checked that out, you can find it on all the major podcast players. Same as Fort Worth Roots, Sum of All Fears. Please give it up for our good friend, Ryan Perrio. Thank y'all for being here. Let's start the show. This is Morgan's dog. This is Brindle, and she is a Maltese Poodle mix, I think. Morgan will be very mad at me if I just got that wrong, but I believe that's the correct blend.
It definitely has a Maltese face.
Yeah.
But poodle snoot. Like, yeah. I can see like the poodle-ish face, but she's got like more Maltese hair, whereas a Maltese is more soft and like, I guess, thread, whereas a poodle is tight curls.
Malteses are mean as shit. That's all I know.
That's probably the poodle. Malteses are usually pretty skittish.
Huh.
And so the anxiety plus poodles are my mom's poodle was very aggressive.
When we were living downtown Fort Worth, there was a neighbor and she had a full-blood Maltese, and that thing was the most aggressive little asshole I'd ever met. So maybe that was just a one-off?
Yeah.
Okay.
My ex had a Maltese, and it literally took that it would not warm up to anyone, and for it literally like 3 times after it met me, just like saddled up with me, like next to me, like laid next to me, would get in my lap, and I'm like, it just recognizes that I have no, like, I'm not afraid of anything, or I live in fear just like it, and it's like, yeah, let's bond together. If you want to be afraid that way, I will sit next to you and have your back and be afraid this way.
Both just be terrified of everything.
Yeah, I mean, like the cat would attack it nonstop because of how afraid it was. Yeah. The cat would sense that fear and be like, get away, you know.
Well, how's the podcast going? That was the most recent, and you can take a drink, man. You were like just about to take a drink, and then it's okay.
I am going to release episode 61.
61. Okay, yeah. Great.
So I've done every week.
Damn, man, that's great. I know how hard that is to commit to. So
it's definitely been like, I've been blessed that one of my interviews was an artist, and she had an art show, and she wanted me to do the live podcast at the art show, and I started interviewing an artist.
Nice.
And they were just long enough that I could segment them out and make each one an episode, and
kind of a series.
Yeah. And also they were so well, like I didn't have to take 2 pieces and mold them together. Like I didn't take 2 tracks. I could just take 1 track.
Yeah.
Whether it was theirs or mine. And it would sound like 2 tracks blended together.
So the editing was real easy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I didn't have to edit much. I would just.
Yeah. The editing part, like I made a post about you coming over today, but the point of the post was I've been doing nothing but editing podcasts all day. I got up at 8 o'clock, and that's all I've done till about 30 minutes before you got here. It takes time. It is so time consuming. And the longer the episode, the longer the recording, the longer the editing takes. And then the rendering process, trying to get it to produce a video once you're done, that takes, I mean, I've got a laptop in there right now trying to make a video. It's been rolling for an hour. It's got another 2 hours to go.
Yeah, because you do a video, that's right.
Yeah, there's a lot of little learning moments doing this stuff, but I'll go back and I'll listen to like my first episode or my second episode, and it's so cringy, it's hard to get through. Like I can hardly listen to it. And now that the audio is a little more on point, I figured out how to kind of smooth everything out in post-production through Audacity. It's a lot better, a lot easier to listen to. And then myself, I've gotten a lot better. with things like that, the ums and the ahs and things like
Yeah, as a comic, I've worked on that just because I don't like to say that. I don't even like to say like.
Right.
I try to take those out and explain what I want to say, but I will have other hiccups. Like there's a like I said would pop up constantly.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like your comedy's gotten have you made any improvements to your comedy? How's that feeling?
Oh yeah,
because you were locked up for 6 months or so whenever I met with you the first time.
Yeah, it's going really well, and I've also added another comedy club, the Looney Bin, to my I guess
repertoire.
Yeah, and
list of venues.
So I've done Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Wichita, Kansas.
Is Looney Bin up in OKC?
Yes.
Okay. I think Kate was telling us about that one when she came down.
Yeah, Kate Grayhouse. But yeah, there's two clubs. There's Bricktown, and then there's Looney Bin.
Maybe it was Bricktown she was talking about.
Bricktown is right downtown in Oklahoma City in the Bricktown area.
Yeah.
And Looney Bin's is out closer to the lake.
This is going to upset somebody if they're from OKC, but do you notice when you pull into OKC, it always smells terrible? Like that river right there. I've been up to OKC maybe 3 times, and there's something about that river there. Whenever you're crossing that bridge going into town,
yeah,
it's so bad.
I don't have my windows down or anything, so I'm not really taking in the.
That's a good point. Last time I went up there, I was on the bike, so yeah, full blast. I haven't spent a lot of time up there though. Like I said, I've been probably 3 times, but now that you're telling me there's a comedy club up there, I'm like, oh, we got to make a trip.
Yeah, I mean,
4 hours away, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 3 to 4 hours, and I would say it's a good weekend like that. You can do the Bricktown Walk and everything. That's kind of like kind of their version of the River Walk in San Antonio.
Right. Yeah. Do they have it done up like that, like San Antonio?
Yeah, like it's a walkway and stuff, and it's about 2 or 3 miles. And you just walk it. It's really cool.
And like access to restaurants from the river. That's cool. We were downtown, well, not downtown, Stockyards off of Exchange Street, and they've got that whole new, I don't know if you've been down there, there's a whole new strip of restaurants. They took old buildings like the brick, I don't know, Stockyard Stables or whatever, and they revitalized everything. So the old structure, the brick is still there, but like they gutted it, built like stores, and they have storefronts. It's really nice, but it's using that existing building from 100 years ago. Cool idea. They've got a brewery down there that literally whenever they pour you a tap, it's coming straight out of the vat from the brew in the back, the distillery. But anyway, all that to say, we walked through that thing, checked it out, really nice venue, and in the back there's a drop off, and we went down there and there's a creek, and it wraps around the new I forgot the name of that new hotel. Drover. The Drover Hotel, like $380 a night minimum. Very nice. Never going to stay there.
Yeah.
But this river runs through it, and it's a creek. It's a creek that probably comes off the Trinity. But like you can tell at one point that probably is what they were going for, was like a San Antonio river walk thing.
Yeah.
And it's a mess. Like nobody's cleaned it up. Everything's overgrown. Looks like shit. But it could be really cool.
Yeah, that's one thing I think in Dallas they wanted to do too. Like they wanted to do that on Main or Elm, is to have like a river in the middle of the street.
Why not? Yeah.
It's like, but I mean, it's cool if it's there. Like, it's something to have, but you can do other things in downtown Dallas.
Right. Yeah. That can be somebody else's thing. Katy Trail. I've never really gotten to explore that to the fullness of that thing, but apparently you can take Katy Trail, ride your bike, and just spend all day, probably 30, 40 miles on this Katy Trail, hitting up restaurants, bars, and all sorts of fun stuff.
Because it goes past Mockingbird Station now, too. Like, they got a bridge that goes over the freeway.
Right, I've seen that. That's cool. There's your thing. Don't make a river. That's somebody else's thing.
Yeah, but I mean, just make it even more accessible. Like, I feel like when you go to downtown Dallas, it's just not a place to walk around and hang out. Like, it doesn't have any kind of cool...
Right.
Like, that's Deep Ellum does that. It's like right down, I'll go 4 more blocks at Deep Ellum. It seems more conducive to let's get out of your car and walk.
Yeah. Me and Deep Ellum haven't talked in a long time, because last time I was there, they broke into my car. I'm still bitter.
I think that was right before you did a recording. Is that
I was bitter about it then. I'm bitter about it now. I'll never forgive them. If I ever go back, though, I will Uber there. I don't care how much it costs. It's cheaper than having your car broken into.
When you have a motorcycle now, they can't break into that.
Yeah, they'll just carry that damn thing away into the tree line. It'll disappear.
So what made you get a motorcycle?
It was cheap. I've been riding motorcycles since 2011.
Okay.
And so when I moved down to Austin, I had a company truck. So I sold my truck. So that's gone. And the goal was, okay, I'm down here in Austin. I'm making good money. Let me try to get my financial life in order. So I've got a company truck. I don't need this truck. So I sold it. And anyway, so whenever I decided that I was coming back to Fort Worth,
Bye-bye company
truck. And so I had X number of dollars in the bank. I'm like, well, let me just get a motorcycle. I'll just do that for a little bit. So I started looking online, used motorcycles, $3,000, $4,000. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But everything I found, it was like, man, that's going to break down. That's definitely not going to make it far. So then I stopped into a Kawasaki dealership on the way to a Harley dealership. It's like, oh, let me hit this one up and then I'll go to Harley next. And I walked into this thing and a brand new Kawasaki bike was $9,000. 2021. Got the bags, got the back seat, the floorboards, the pegs, the windscreen. I'm like, 9,000? I mean, 10,000. And I think tax, title, and license, it was closer to 12. But I'm like, why don't I just take the money I got, throw it on this, and have a brand new vehicle? So that's what I did.
Okay.
But now winter's coming.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to reevaluate that decision. I'm like, yeah, I've got a brand new vehicle that I'm not going to be able to operate probably for a month and a half here pretty soon, which is a good thing about Texas. You can almost run that motorcycle year round, but if we have a winter like we did last year, yeah, I'm going to be walking.
Yeah, well, nobody's going to be anywhere if we have a winter like last year.
Yeah, I've talked to enough people now that I've decided that it was worse in Austin than it was up in Fort Worth. We were out without power or water for 3 solid days. And then we didn't get water back for a week. It was crazy. Was it like that here?
It was for some people. I did not have that problem. I guess I'm on the same grid as maybe something that had to keep going.
Right.
Because I never lost power. I kept the heat on because I was like, well, if it goes down, I want this place to stay warm as long as possible.
Yeah. So you kept it up.
I kept it up, but I didn't keep it ridiculously up. It was 70 degrees. And I was double layered and just watching Netflix or whatever was on and editing podcasts. And
there you go.
Because I had done recorded an episode with somebody the night before everything froze. It was just when that Sunday when Fort Worth had the $250 250 car pile up.
Oh shit, yeah.
And it's right here. It's right here at 35 and 820. And I was I know that area. I know that it will, because you have that little bend. It doesn't, on the map, it looks like it's nothing, but then you get to it and you have this much visibility and you can't see until you get around that bend. And it's every time there's stop traffic and you gotta
yeah.
And I'm and you can't tell if it's ice weather. That's, you
don't know until it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Bad deal. And a bunch of people died too, right? What was the count?
I don't remember the count. But
dozens, wasn't it? It's terrible.
Yeah.
And that was, you said that was 820 and 35?
Yeah, right over here at 820 and 35. And I'm that's that here in
that spot.
It isn't, because I have a friend that lives, another comic that lives in North Tarrant. We were driving to Austin to do a gig. South Austin, Canyon Lake. And we were going down that road and it's man, this is, it's a little bit tricky visibility, especially when the sun's going down or anything like that. It's kind of right in your eyes. Mm-hmm. And it was I can see how that would be when you do realize it, if you got ice on the road, you might as well have no brakes. And
yeah, that's how that works. Doesn't matter if it's 4-wheel drive or whatever. You hit ice, there's nothing for it to grab onto except that tree in front of you.
Yeah.
So what do you got going on after this?
Going on after this, I don't have much for the holidays because I work so much over the summer, from May to August, I was steady. I would steady at least every other weekend, or most weekends be working, and then other things trickled in. Like in August, I would only had 1 week, and then it just turned into the full month. I just worked it somewhere, like whether it was Addison Improv, Hyenas Dallas, or Wichita. I knew about, but then it went to Hyenas. Addison Improv needed a MC the next week. Then I did a show in Midland, Texas, with Cam Bertrand.
Jesus, that's a drive.
Yeah, and then that's your hometown, right?
Well,
Odessa.
I wouldn't claim it. Elementary school.
Okay.
Midland. And then high school and early adulthood, Abilene. So
okay.
I hardly remember Midland at this point.
But yeah, I did a show out there like a week, and then after that, Hyenas Dallas needed somebody. And then,
It's like you've been doing a lot at the Improv, right?
Yeah. I've done a few shows, and then they'll have these one-off nights and stuff where, like Thursday, I was at Hyenas Fort Worth, and I was just there I was going to edit my podcast. I was like, all right, I'm going to wait for the open mic while I'm here basically doing nothing. I'll go ahead and get some editing done. And I guess a comic didn't show, so they were like, well, could you go on? I was like, yeah, I can, for, a day's, just to $50 just to be there. Yeah.
Is that how you got your foot in the door with them, or?
No,
okay.
I did all their open mics, and the son of the owner was booking Fort Worth at some point, and they needed an opener after Randy passed me in late 2008, early 2009. And so I'm like, I'm an opener. And I'm just sitting here like, hey, if you need an opener, I'm available.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
And this was like in January, February. And so like I'm nothing. And then August, the boss's son, who's now booking Fort Worth, is like, hey, can you work in that Fort Worth this weekend? And I was like, yes, I can. And he's seen me pretty much where I was just awkward and uncomfortable and everything. And at 2009, I was like, it was like a week or two before my 3-year anniversary in comedy. And I'm like sitting there just like, maybe this is never going to happen. Nobody wants, maybe I'm just not that, this isn't meant to be. What do you, I was at that questioning phase of how much more can I go?
Yeah.
And then I got that call, and I'm like, all right, we can do this. And I absolutely had a great set. I work with Dale Jones, who's along the East Coast, Atlantic Coast, does amazing work.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
We got some company running through the background there. Well, that's good. So that kind of rekindled your comic
It definitely was like, okay. Because when you don't get any work or anything, you wonder how good your work is, because all you have is open mic and everything else to kind of go off of.
Right.
You don't have any kind of validation. You don't have people come up and say, oh my God, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
And so I did that, and he comes off, he goes, man, put you in front of 10 people, you struggle. He's like, put you in front of 300, you crushed it. And from there, I hosted from 2009 to like 2013.
Oh, wow. Damn.
I was a host.
One good set.
Yeah. That's
all it took.
I was one good set, and I could time myself. I had my watch. I was like, I'll time myself. I'll time the show. I'll make sure I'm available. And I just did really good work. And so that's how I got to booking the MCs, is because I was so good at it.
Mm-hmm.
That they know that I know what needs to be done.
Yeah. Awesome. So since then, you feel like you've picked up more steam, though?
Oh, yeah.
Because that seems like a pretty big step for you in your journey as a comedian.
Yeah.
But you've done bigger things than that.
Yeah. I feel like I've gotten to where I'm really good. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I know there's going to be some few bad sets. Like, but I'm okay with it. Mm-hmm. And I just enjoy going up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you gotta have those bad sets. I mean, listening to, it's every comedian has a podcast now, right?
Well, some do. I don't know of all of them.
I think it's everybody. But
it feels like it. But
if you listen to, the guys that most people would regard as the top level comedians and telling their stories through their podcast, they've all had terrible sets. Yeah. And to say sets, that makes it sound like it just happened once or twice, but I mean, they go through years of that, right? And then even the guys that succeed and get Netflix specials, they will still go up and have terrible sets. So that's just part of it, right?
Yeah.
And that makes them probably a lot better of a comedian after that's said and done.
It does. I think just going up and having no response is just something to build on, is that you get comfortable with that so that when it happens in real life, you're unfazed.
Yeah, because it's got to be soul crushing if you're not used to it, right?
Oh, yeah. It's just panic. It just becomes sheer panic.
Right.
It'd be just like, losing control of your car. Like, it's sheer panic.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what do I, how do I stop? How do I get this? Like, we've all had the dream. Have you ever had a dream where you're in the car, but you're in the passenger seat and there's no driver, and the whole dream is you trying to get into the driver's seat, and for some reason you just can't?
I have panic dreams like that almost every other night. Yeah. It's just, that's normal for me. That's how I sleep.
But that's what going up and bombing in front of a crowd feels like. It feels like you're in the passenger seat of a car and you're trying to,
Jesus,
and you can see like everything. The road is, and your car is doing this, but you haven't hit anything yet, and you just got to get over into the driver's seat somehow.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
And you're like, first you're grabbing the steering wheel and just panically.
Palms are starting to sweat a little bit. You talking about this?
But that's the only dream I can equate it to. It's just that I've had those dreams where I was just sitting in the passenger seat of a car, and I was like, what is happening? Why is no way? Or you're in the back seat, and you're like, why is nobody drive? I got to drive. I should be driving. Why am I back here in the back seat?
Yeah. So I saw pictures, and I think you mentioned her name earlier, but Kate Greathouse.
Actually,
as she is known.
Yes, actually, her boyfriend Zach is my episode 61.
That's okay. That's where I saw that today. Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And he's a comedian as well.
Yes.
But do y'all all kind of hit the same venues? Every once in a while?
Every once in a while we do. Kate has her own, I guess, rotation of places that she goes. I have my own rotation. Zach has his. Yeah. And so we'll overlap it some and stuff like that. So it's fun. We're again a big dysfunctional family. So there are some people you just don't talk to, other people you do, and other people you're just polite. And
Yeah, sure, cool.
It's like you always have that one person, that gets whispers about, and then they're there, and it's like, oh, hey,
there's that guy. Yeah.
And I mean, it's nothing malicious. It's just,
oh yeah, it's its own subculture.
Yeah,
I mean, so I wasn't surprised to see Kate pop up on something that you had posted, because it's got to be kind of a pretty tight-knit group throughout the DFW area. I'm sure that you probably know 90% of the people that come up on a regular basis.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's cool. But one thing that I'd ask Kate about, and I'm curious to see what your response is going to be. We were at Hyenas, me and Morgan, about, this must have been a month ago now. Mm-hmm. But we went to the Late Show because it was conducive to our schedule. Okay. We have since decided we will never go to the Late Show again. But anyway.
Who are you going to see?
And we couldn't remember the name of this guy last time I brought him up. It was a guy from Kansas. He puts his episode or his specials on vinyl, and he had those for sale. Wears glasses. Kansas has a podcast that doesn't help.
Oh, Chris Porter.
Is it Chris Porter?
I'd be willing to bet it's Chris Porter.
Probably. I don't know. That sounds right. But yes. So Kate promised me that she was going to figure this out. Sorry, Kate. But anyway, he got slaughtered during that late night performance. The room just started picking him apart. And it was the wildest thing I'd ever seen, because one, I've never seen a venue allow a crowd to get that out of control. That is him.
That's
Chris Porter. Okay.
He's a good friend. He's really cool.
And that's what I have to put that into this whenever I'm bringing this up. Chris Porter was hilarious. And he did a great job with crowd control up to a point. But whenever it got to the point where the heckling was coming from every end of the room. And at one point, Chris turns around and he goes, "Can I get the fucking light?" And whenever he said that, I just went, oh no, he's lost all control. We are effed.
and that can happen.
I've never seen it. I've never seen anything that crazy before. And I was a little bit embarrassed because this is my home.
Yeah.
And for Chris to come down here, and the guy obviously doesn't like Texans anyway. He was making like these little subtle like anti-Texan comments anyway. And I think that might be how he lost the room. But regardless of that, he already doesn't like Texans. And here they are showing their full ass in a room full of people from the area. Mm-hmm. And I was so embarrassed. I meant to send him an email apologizing on behalf of the room, but it was terrible. It was the worst. So what does a comedian need to do? Or is there any way for somebody to avoid that?
There are different tactics. Some people, like, they're going to be comics that will engage. And that, and as a headliner, you probably have to, because they're there for you. The problem with the thing with Chris is he's so good, and that's what people come to, is they want to see certain things, or they want to see new stuff, and then they get frustrated when they see the same thing. And because I work with him, I would say not this last September, but last August.
Yeah.
Like Raspberry reopened from the pandemic, he came down like August 2020.
Yeah.
And they were like, you aren't doing any new stuff. He said, man, we've just been sitting in our fucking houses for 9 months.
Yeah.
Like, there is no new stuff,
There's
buddy.
no way to work
There's
it out.
nothing.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sorry. I'm doing what I can do.
Yeah. That comment was actually made that night. Somebody said something about, do new material or, something to that effect. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, who's this fucking guy?
Yeah.
And awful.
And that's, and Chris is probably and to Chris's credit, I'm sure he is working on some new stuff.
Yeah.
But there is also, he does live stuff on Instagram, things like that. So it adds up. Like I have a full-time job, and then I also do a podcast, and then I do stand-up.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I find time to edit a TikTok? How do I find time to post on Instagram, write jokes, and do all this in a day, and still somehow get 8 hours of sleep? It gets to a point where you run out of ideas, and you have to let life happen to kind of refresh and cleanse the palate, so you can find something new.
Do you feel like, because this was, I'm paraphrasing and don't hold me to it, but Kate said something to the effect, and I agreed with her, that you've got a whole new crop of patrons now. There's people that maybe they never had gone to a comedy club before COVID, but they've been sitting in their house watching Netflix specials, and then now that the clubs are open again, they're going out for the first time to comedy clubs, and they have no effing idea how to act. Do you feel like that's been kind of a thing lately? No,
I think that is the late show can happen, especially when you got a comic that people get emotional for. Like, there's an emotional thing of, oh, this is Chris Porter, he's fucking funny. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have a great time, and he's loud, and he is, he's gonna talk and chatter away, and he's gonna relate to us, and everybody wants to be a part of the show, and it's just certain comics elicit that.
Yeah.
Other comics, you can go there on a late show, and they will be silent as lambs. And it's just the kind of attitude that Chris comes across as. Chris comes across as a good old boy.
Yeah.
And so they feel comfortable. Hey, buddy, I've been there with you. Yeah. They want to say something, and they don't mean to be assholes.
Yeah.
But Chris portrays himself as kind of an asshole. So they were like, oh, I got something for you. Oh. And
I feel like that crowd robbed every ticket-paying customer of a great show, because Chris's set was solid as hell, and I loved it. And for the people complaining, like, do new material, first of all, shut your fucking mouth. But secondly, that's like, you read a book, your favorite author, you read the new book, and then you go to like a bookstore to listen to them read a couple of chapters or part of the book, and then you're yelling at them, read new stuff. Like, this is my book. This is the art that you came to hear, but that's so asinine. Anyway, the whole thing just had me pissed off, and I just feel bad for Chris. Chris, if you're listening, I'm so sorry. On behalf of Fort Worth, Texas, that was bullshit, And I hope that never happens. I hope I never see that again. That was crazy.
I mean, it can happen, but it's interesting. Some comics can handle it, better than others. Sometimes it's just there is no handling it.
He did great crowd work. Like in the beginning, he did probably 15 solid minutes of hilarious crowd work, but it just got to be too much.
Yeah,
there were too many holes in the boat.
Yeah, I was there, I think, a week or two before, because I was there like with Liz Mealy.
Did you hear about this? Like, were people talking about that?
I've seen it happen firsthand.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've experienced it, and that's just sometimes, like I said, when you're that relatable, people can't hold it in because they think, oh my God, this is my moment. I'm not going to be able to talk to him out there. He's going to be gone. This is my moment to kind of talk to Chris and be, like him, be like, high five, brother, and it just goes sideways, and then they don't want to, in front of their date, feel like, oh, you're that
punked.
Yeah, you're the asshole now, and so it
continues.
Yeah, and then you'll have women that pipe up for their boyfriends at that point, and, then they start chiming in like, "Fuck you, you snowflake," whatever. It happened on Thursday when I was on the show. Like, there was this one lady sitting in the front row just chatting away.
This is your show.
With the 325, I did a 325 on Thursday, and where three comics do 25 minutes, and there's a host, and we did a guest spot. But there was just a lady talking, and I just my tactic is just to plow over you. I'm just gonna do such good material that I'm gonna drown you out. I don't have to acknowledge you, because
so you don't engage.
If I acknowledge you, then I'm
giving them control,
especially when you go up first. Now, if I had gone up last, maybe I try to address it kind of like, hey man, I know you guys are celebrating an anniversary because you're wearing matching t-shirts, and he looks really sad. And so I would just ask if you could just, keep the comments until you get to the car, then have your fight, then have whatever a marital argument you guys want to have.
Yeah. And
that'd be fine with me. I just start steamrolling people.
Yeah.
And I just go with material, and I have the room laughing so hard that they can't hear.
Yeah. Damn.
So that's the goal anyway. Sometimes it doesn't work, and I just kind of take a deep breath, and I just keep going, and like, hey, this is what's happening. I'm not giving you the satisfaction of getting my attention. Yeah. My attention is for everybody, and your attention is supposed to be on me.
Yeah. That crowd work stuff, though, it's pretty funny. As long as it doesn't go the way I saw it.
If you're on Netflix, you can look up Todd Barry.
Todd Barry.
He does on CD. You can download it. He has a crowd work tour where he just goes to various cities, and he does nothing but crowd work the whole show.
Yeah.
And the bits are pretty funny. There are some funny moments and stuff of things people say that they stick their foot in their mouth or whatever, and and he works with that, and where he's talking where he talks to a guy, and the guy's like, I'm a comedian, and he's like, oh, you're a comedian. Funny, I didn't pick up on that, and just and then he starts talking like, are you working today? No. Oh, I get, some comedians don't work. Oh, wait, I'm working today. Just.
I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, Todd Barry is one of my faves, and he's real funny. He's got some really clever stuff. He usually opens for like Bill Burr and stuff like that, and then he'll do he doesn't like to do mainstream comedy clubs. Like, he likes to go to
places like Hyenas and stuff.
Well, not even Hyenas. Like, he likes to go to little theaters and little hole in the wall bars that holds 200 or 300 people, and he'll do that for one night, and then he'll leave. He has a book I can loan you. It's Thanks for Coming to Hattiesburg, whatever. And it's just a documentary of him going to these various cities and doing the stand up.
Is it kind of like the shit that he ran into, or
it's things like I don't like to. I want a clean bathroom. I want bottled water and a green room that I can be separate from the audience.
Yeah.
And sometimes they can't provide, it's like, you think, this is unacceptable. And it's learning the little things and nuances, and being also how do you put your foot down and say, no, this is not
right.
This is not good enough. I want better than this.
Or now you're difficult.
Yeah.
And now people don't want to book you, maybe.
Well, it's not even that. It's just like he has an agent, and so the agent will find them bookings. But at the same time, it's up to the venue to accommodate the comic. Like when Chris says, haven't we got the light yet? Hyenas are doing the best they can, I'm sure, to get everything squared away so we can get out of here. Sometimes systems, require, stuff to be done, checks to be ran, and things like that.
Yeah. It's no one's fault but the audience, really. That's the fact.
Yeah.
Don't try to smooth it over. You people just need to shut the hell up.
Yeah. I can ask Jimmy about that. I was like, what
Jimmy was there.
Yeah, Jimmy was the opener.
Jimmy, the firefighter.
Yeah.
We were talking about him. Dude, he was hilarious. I told Kate, I was like, he fist bumped me on the way out. Made me feel real cool. So now I'm a Jimmy for Life fan.
Jimmy Nelson, he's awesome.
Need to go back and see some more Jimmy. We need to go see you too. So I've got your lineup. I shared it the other day, but what are the locations here in the future that you're playing locally?
Locally, I am not playing anything anytime soon unless something, like I said, just random happens.
Right.
Because I worked so much over the summer, I would feel guilty. Like, hey, what about December?
Yeah.
And so, like, it'll probably next year sometime, but I will be in Wichita, Kansas, January 2nd through the 6th. And then after that, I will be in Oklahoma City the next weekend.
Okay. Cool. So just kind of light for the rest of the year. You're going to be spending some time working on...
I'm also doing a show
stuff
in Midland in December, so that's my other one.
I don't know if we have any listeners in Midland. Does the internet even go that far?
It does. There's people... And so hopefully, I will sell some shirts there. I did very well with Liz Mealy. She was awesome. And that was September 17th weekend, I believe. Nice. And so that was an awesome weekend. I sold 38 t-shirts.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was a really fun weekend. I sold out my t-shirts and stuff. And so...
Is there a place on your website for swag?
No swag at this point. No swag just yet.
Got to get it at the show.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, make sure you let me know whenever you're going to be doing local stuff too. I'll keep promoting your other stuff, but definitely let me know when you're doing something local. I'd like to come see you. What's your go-to club?
Usually Hyenas Fort Worth is. If I wanted you to see me somewhere, it would be Hyenas Fort Worth.
That is awesome. Very good.
Hyenas Dallas is also really good, but Hyenas Fort Worth is where if my next weekend I'm going to low-key try to get my other podcast buddy Travis to do my audio, and we'll try to record a CD over the weekend.
Very cool.
Just as a middle act, because I like doing it as a middle act because there's nothing. I'm trying to remember who was Chris Porter's middle. I'd like to say it was Ralph.
I just remember Jimmy.
Okay.
I was drinking.
Well, Jimmy will love the fact that you remember Jimmy.
Oh yeah, everybody remembers Jimmy, and I'm sure the other guys were great too. It's just
but as the middle act,
he's the one that fist bumped me. So
yeah, as the middle act, you don't have to do announcements or bring comics up. You get 20 minutes, 20 to 25, 30 minutes of just no distraction. Because as a headliner, you have to close the show. You have to wait for them to fill out their checks and everything, sign their name, and it gets distracting. Yeah. Whereas in the early middle, you've got all their attention. Yeah. And so I could either do a 325 weekend and just be the first or middle guy in that. Mm-hmm. Or if he wanted to do a headlining thing, I'd do co-headlining, where each of us do 35 ish. And then I would be like, hey, man, why don't you close the show? And I would just take the early spot. Yeah. And just do my thing.
Yeah. Got it pretty well figured out.
Well, I've gotten it now to where I've got 3 different 25s. Because I always try to mix it up because I never want to be
25-minute sets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to
That's right. You told me about this.
I like to pick and play. Like I like to be able to just put things together that I wouldn't normally, like grocery shopping. Like, let's put this here, and not feel like I have a rehearsed like, I guess what I would call like the Gettysburg Address of comedy. Because some people, unfortunately, there's some comics that just have like
line by line,
a Gettysburg of go with me on this. People, no one has not gone with no one. Everybody's listening to you. No one's not going with you. Yeah. But some people have that, and I'm like, I never want to feel like I have to say everything the same way.
Yeah, a la carte comedy, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of like what it is, and so it's like, because there'll be like certain things I'll forget, or I will go on such a rant that I'll be like, oh shit, I totally forgot half of this stuff because there's just so much to it, and it's just like, oh, well, I'll just do it differently next time.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, keep me apprised of local dates and times and locations. I'm going to be looking for more comedians. Kate was great. You're awesome. I love having you guys on the show. So if any of your other buddies want to, I told Kate, I will come to you. This is all mobile. It all comes with me. I can put it in a bag and bring it to you. So if y'all want to set up in a green room or a hallway, this thing, I've even got a battery pack for this thing now. We don't even need power. So I can meet you somewhere. So if you want to do a thing with another comedian and Jimmy, I want Jimmy. I got to get Jimmy.
Okay. I'll let him know. Like he usually does a fire service in Dallas, but
oh wow.
But yeah, he like in Bishop Arts area, like literally in the same area that my other podcast was in, the Etc. podcast. He literally like that's his fire station area is like like that area.
Yeah. This is like the rescue pod. This is not where we should do this. We should always be doing this like at places. So if I could meet you guys somewhere, that's always better for me. This is fine. There's nothing wrong
maybe
with
if they're doing a Fort Worth weekend, like before the show, you can like meet them like maybe in Sundance Square or 100%, something.
100%. Yes. We could even do this in a car, I think. Not that wouldn't raise some eyebrows, but cops get called. I don't know. They've been sitting there talking for an hour. They got headsets on, so I just thought I'd call the cops.
That's the beauty of like like I said, me doing it through Zoom. I'm like, oh, I can do people across the country. Like I've
had so many people that are like, yeah, we should, Zoom, and I'm like, no, I like this.
Yeah,
which is a hard sell, COVID era. All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you coming out. You're always welcome on the show. Cool. Anytime you got like a grocery list of shows coming up and you want to promote them, come out here. Let's hang out.
Let's do it. Every Fort Worth show I will.
I'll bring food next time. I feel like we'd be better off with like a cheese plate or something.
Okay.
This is the first. Oh, you're the first one to do this in here. Oh. I'm still setting this up, but it's you're the first person to be in the podcast safe lifeboat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, don't look that direction. That's why the camera's this way.
Yeah, I was just like looking back here to see.
Yeah, the closet doors. I was like, I'll close that, and then I was like, no. The close will catch some of the echo.
So is this some of this? Is that your?
Yeah, it's a little bit of our overflow clothing. A lot of winter clothes in there.
Okay, so that's why it's open. As y'all are getting ready to switch out your closets for the.
No, like I literally kept it open because I thought it might grab some more sound because the walls are still pretty bare. I still got to put some stuff up. So
that's one thing about my apartment is it's like soundproof perfectly because it's downstairs.
Right. It's flat surfaces though. I've read up on this. Like anything and everything in here is flat. So
yeah, and the fact you're in the middle helps because if you're near a wall, like you get that like loudness.
Yeah,
the echo from the wall.
Kind of in the middle. It's a small room, but it works.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan. Thanks again, and always welcome on the show. And Fort Worth Roots. Thank y'all for watching, and we will see you next week. Another big thank you to Ryan for coming back on the show. Dude, you are welcome on Fort Worth Roots anytime. Thank you. If this is y'all's first time checking out Fort Worth Roots, you can find us on all the major podcast players. You can email me if you have questions about the show or you got comments, media@fortworthroots.com. And yes, we also have a YouTube channel, so you can stare at our faces if you're into that kind of thing. Got some big stuff coming up. I don't want to tell you about it. I'm one of those guys that I don't count those chickens till the eggs hatch. You know what I mean? So I just kind of wait, and if it happens, great. I'll tell you about it then. This thing's got a lead time on it too anyway, so I've got some time to tell you about it after the recording happens. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate every single episode that you stream or download. That's all I got. I will see you guys next week. Peace.